still can't figure out why that was.
Because you called him Mr. Kelly, and you were probably the only one in the entire.
I didn't want to Well, that's the other thing. Like there was some point in his past that it went from Bobby to Robert, and I don't want to be disrespectful, and I don't know those guys like that, like just.
I don't know any of them. I
know.
called them all by their first names, and forced a hug.
I'm sure that's perfectly welcome from a female.
Yeah, I figured.
Okay.
I knew what I was doing.
So, assuming that it's been a minute since we've done one of these. It's happy hour. What are we going to call this? Skankfest Volunteers?
Yellow shirts.
Yellow shirts edition? I don't know.
Something.
So, for the people that know us already, our friends who do see this, we figured we would do, because we used to do this over COVID, and
it's been years, year and a half.
It really has been,
yeah.
and we've had a couple of friends ask us if we were ever going to do one of these again, and I said we didn't really have a reason to, and then we just went to Skankfest and we got back from that, and then we probably should have done it a couple weeks ago, but it's probably for the best. So
whatever.
So we're going to do a recap, and we're wearing our volunteer shirts.
Even though I was told I was never. Alex said, "I never want to see you in that shirt again." Since we lived in it for 72 hours.
I know, and they have been washed since then. So, actually, we went out to dinner earlier, and we were just talking through what we were going to talk about, which felt weird, but it actually is helpful because, it kind of helps. So stupid. Just thinking about explaining what we're doing.
Oh, what, like PowerPoints and...
yeah. Like anybody.
You don't have to explain it.
Yeah, I know, like anybody gives a shit. So, the one funny thing that I was thinking about at dinner that I didn't say, and I probably told you a couple times, I've listened to a lot of these podcasts, and we both have for a long time, but
a long time, like 10 years.
Bringing you into the
Legion, whole LOS,
the Legion of Skanks universe,
right.
Was kind of a funny thing because
I didn't know what to expect at all.
Yeah, or you didn't know what who half of these people were anyways.
Well, I mean, I knew half of them just by voice. Like I thought I wouldn't recognize hardly any of them, and when we got there, I recognized like the majority of the people that I listened to. So I felt more like I knew all those guys when I got there than I thought I would before we got there.
I thought it was cool to see, to actually put a face to the names of the production team people. Because, when I just listen to them, I don't ever watch the videos really. And even though most of the time when I'm listening, I'm at work and I am in front of a computer. But, to know that you were working with Alex in the green room and then just walking around and seeing everybody kind of doing their different jobs.
I didn't know any of this stuff. I only knew Christine just because of the bonfire.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I knew Lewis, obviously, and Big J. And, of course, I knew, half the comedians. I knew a lot of the comedians that a lot of people at the Legions of Skank, audience didn't know. Like Sam Talent. Oh, I love that guy.
Yeah, that was awesome.
Man, he was the sweetest, wasn't he?
He
was so cool.
Well, and it was overwhelming to be in the middle of what really was, and I've heard a couple of the comedians say it, they get that most of the people that are there listen to almost every single podcast that all these people do.
Oh, yeah.
So it was funny to be in the middle of it. I kept thinking, I'm walking through my podcast feed in my phone.
It's like walking through your life, you know? That's why I made those buttons that said "Skanky for being a friend," because, these people have been in my life for, the past 5 to 10 years, some of them, up to 10 years.
Yeah.
Because I've been listening to their podcasts, from the day podcasts started practically, or the day those people's podcasts started.
And it's probably worth noting for the people that don't know us or where we live in an extremely remote part of northern Michigan, so we never get to go see live shows. We hardly ever...
Not comedy.
No, we travel once a year to go to spring break with our
kids,
family, and so the decision to go to Skankfest was... it was super exciting. I was so glad you wanted to go in the first place.
But we do see comedy. We see it at least 3 times a year. But this year we've seen it 5. We're going to see Louie in December. We're going to see Soder next week.
But it requires
traveling, right?
Hours of driving,
right? Yeah, we saw Mulaney in August. We drove, and it was the late night show. So we drove there after, picked up the kids from school, got there. The show was at 9 or 8, I think. It was a 3.5 hour drive away. We get home at 3:30 in the morning to take the kids to school at 7 or 8.
We got out of that show at midnight.
Yeah, yeah.
So it must have been a 10
We got
p.m.
home about 3:30.
That was a late show we saw.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what I said.
Oh, I thought you said 8.
Well, I did say 8, but I did say late show, whatever.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter.
But anyways, so the decision to go to Skankfest was
well, how that started was you talked about it months prior to even when the tickets went on sale, and I was like, okay, it's a lot of money.
Well, rewinding back to the end of the Houston one.
Yes, exactly.
That was.
And you said you really wanted to go after
well,
that. Yeah.
I watched the roast. I watched whatever I could see online. I didn't stream anything. It just stuff started popping up, and it looked like so much fun. And I felt like I could see that was our kind of a party.
Yeah, because
like,
we do music festivals, 3
Yeah.
or 4 times a year, so it's a little.
And it had the same. It had the same vibe.
Right.
And they definitely have a lot of music stuff going on, which is cool. And you could.
Yeah, because our music festivals are small. It's not
Yeah.
like those huge Coachella crap.
But
things.
you could tell that it was like. It was the same cool vibe that we get with our musician friends, where you're seeing all of your favorite musicians in one place and hanging out with them. And that's really what the cool things about our Northern Michigan music festivals are. Like, you get to see the bands that you like. You get to play with everybody. Well, from a music standpoint, you get to sit in and play with everybody, and then and see the shows that you want to see. But really, it's just a really great hang. And I got that vibe from watching those videos in the Houston show. So I said, man, it would be cool to go to that. And you were receptive right away, and then it was just the waiting game.
I was. Well, no, not the very first time you said it, because I was, like, doing the math, and I was like, man, that's a lot of money. But, whatever. It's just money.
Yeah.
And then when the time came, when the tickets went on sale, I was the one online.
I know. So that day that those tickets went on sale, it was around Christmas when I was trying to get your bike. I was in Alma at that bike shop.
Yeah, you were out of bounds of Wi-Fi.
Well, I called you called me, and then I sat in the car when you couldn't get them.
Well, I mean, I literally was on there the minute they went on sale.
Yeah.
And they sold out within a minute, or at least the minute that I was on.
Yeah. Well, and Lewis was saying that 2 minutes is
2 minutes, right. Well, I was on it.
Yeah, for the 3-day all access, which is what we wanted to do.
Right, we wanted everything.
Yeah, so we missed that. Fortunately, as it turns out, because then we kind of gave up, and we just decided, well, maybe we won't go.
Right.
And then we were laying in bed one night and saw that the volunteer thing. Yep. And then it was like, well, maybe. Then I was like, well, would we want to do that? And I was hoping so badly that you would say yes to that.
I said it immediately.
Yeah.
I was like, yeah. I mean, we prefer to have jobs when we do stuff like that.
Yeah.
We prefer to be in the fray of, that's why we, help put on music festivals around here, because we want to be behind the scenes. We want to make the decisions. We want to be part of the process.
Well, for me, I was saying, like, in a festival setting, I'm a bad audience. Like, the energy is so frenetic, and you can feel it, and you want to be moving around.
It's hard to focus.
It's like perpetual FOMO about, like, what else is going on in other places.
It's not even like you're concentrating on what you're there for, because you're thinking of other things. I get that too.
In that mentality as a volunteer, at either of those situations, or even as an artist, you feel like, okay, I've got to be in this place. This is going on, but there's 1,000 other things happening.
Greg is a musician, in case you guys didn't know.
So that feeling of being there, I did struggle with the, like, oh, shoot, should I stand still for a second and catch some of a show?
I couldn't. Even in passing, I tried. I stopped for, like, less than a minute and was like, I gotta be, I gotta be in the green room. I'm needed.
Well, and I wonder how much of that was just, like, showing up and, again, going from the pace that we're used to, which is, like, pretty. Everybody gets in their habits and their, like, normal day-to-day routine, and especially the lack of just energy in general of different things going on. It was so foreign to be in that part of Las Vegas together without any other like doing something we didn't know really what to expect, where we were going, or anything. It was nice to be back in an unknown, like, adventure setting.
And it was crazy because, before moving up here, I was in that field of, hospitality and bartending and all that. And so, like, just going back into it was like riding a bike, man. I just got right into it as if it never stopped.
So if anybody that was ends up coming across this, that I was thinking about volunteering. Actually, that was one of the questions I got a lot of when we got back and kind of like checked back in with that Skankfest networking page, which is where I'm probably going to put this, was how do you volunteer? What was it like? And you know, kind of people asking, like the people that thought that sounded like a cool idea and people that made fun of you for like, why would you want to volunteer? And it's like, dude, if you don't want to, you don't have to. But if it's the right thing for the right kind of person.
Exactly. Which goes to show why half of the people flaked out, or the ones that were actually there weren't really working. You know, there was A teams every time I worked, but it was the same, 5 people.
You got
in my section.
Yeah, or just like as you get moving around, you tend to see the same folks that are. If you're seeing people that are moving around, you get the sense it's like, okay, these are people that are
moving
looking,
rather than just kind of talking to each other.
And there's people that need to be at door. Like I would have sucked at being in one spot, and I kind of
same
day one when I was on the Sheath stage, and Stacy, is that
Stacy and Carrie you were with.
Sorry, Stacy. There were so many different names, and
I didn't forget you, Stacy.
So I got there, and I kind of got my head around the room, and then it's just like anything else. It's like a hurry up and wait situation. So as you're standing there, it's like, well, what else can I do? And that's when you start kind of.
Well, and that's the thing. It's not even questioning what it is, because the types of people that were volunteering that made that whole festival run smoothly were people like us, type A people, where we saw what needed to get done and we did it without even asking anyone, do we need to do this? Because you can't do that. That's not how those festivals are run. You have to see what needs to get done and just do it.
Yeah. And I could see that those people had been identified and were repeat. Like I met Cameron, and he's the guy that gave me walkie-talkie.
Yeah.
On
and
day
my
one.
Sam, my girl, she did Big T? I don't know if Big T was there before, but man, Sam, me, and Big T were the A team on that.
So the hard thing about that for us, we didn't get there on time for the pre-meeting, which we had planned to. Our travel day got all screwed up at 6:30. We
got to the venue, to the Thursday night venue at 8.
Yeah, and it was already full, and so we went around back and tried to like make contact with whoever.
Yeah, met Max, met Josh, met Matt.
Yeah, met Matt, and then tried to get a hold of Stacy, and really we
got a hold of Stacy.
Yeah, and
Max helped.
We were just frazzled, so we walked around. And even just walking down Fremont after the day of travel we had was
so overwhelming and cool.
Yeah, it was like
being on mushrooms when you're not.
Yeah, or like being abducted by aliens and being plopped down on like a space station.
I know.
It felt like a space station.
I know. Can you imagine like foreigners coming to America for the first time, and that's where they show up? They think that's what America is. I mean, it was like being in a carnival.
Yeah, it was a
It's the carnival of Las Vegas.
Yeah, for sure.
And carnies are there, and boy, did we experience a few of them.
Yeah, so we had a like frenetic entrance, and we missed. So that first day, it really took us a while to get, not a while, but it was a sense of I didn't know what the venue was. Really had to do a lot of running around to learn the room, and I think they walked everybody through it earlier in the day.
Oh, I'm sure. I know they did, and that's why when we talked to Stacy the night before or somebody, I was concerned about showing up the next day because I knew they got a walkthrough. But when and I was nervous too, which was weird because it's not in my nature to be nervous about things like that, or at least I don't know, whatever. So when we showed up, man, Kim Congdon was there. She offered me some of her Chick-fil-A breakfast, and she is just the coolest chick, man. She's so down to earth.
She was super cool.
Super cool. And Sam was right there, who became my best buddy through the whole concert or festival. It just broke my nerves completely.
Yeah.
And then I was in charge of the green room for the most of the weekend, and they showed me the room, and I was like, all right, I know what to do. This needs to get done. That needs to get done. Like nothing was arranged. So I arranged that, me, I'm good at like making things look pretty.
Yes. Our camps, we spend literally a day. She spends a day.
I spend weeks prior getting things prepared.
Yeah, for a camping music festival.
Basically a Skankfest.
Yeah. But it takes you a day just to unpack and set up camp.
Yeah.
Because it's got to look right.
Yeah, definitely. And everyone that comes to our festival campground knows what to expect. And and when I'm not there, which is very rare, they know.
Yeah.
Christy's not here.
Yes. So, and that's actually why we end up not leaving our camp very much to go see anything.
Friday was insane. Friday literally destroyed my feet. I won't get into it, but I thought I wore the right shoes. Ended up wearing flip-flops the rest of the weekend. But so like nobody knew what to expect, and we all just showed up and just like frantically tried to get it all figured out on Friday day and night. By Saturday, it kind of slowed down a little bit, at least from me, because half of the day in the green room during the daytime, they were recording at the Dance Safe stage, which was right next to us.
That was where Big J Special was
right,
shot.
he was doing the special. So like the green room became, recording studio.
It was
so like
production.
I couldn't even do my thing.
So that was actually something, because I would pop in and out, and I would come in and check on you and sneak little hangs when I could, just to see what was going on in there. But yeah, when J Special was being shot, just from a production standpoint, it's so impressive how much they brought in there. So there were lots of different production companies. There was Mint Comedy, obviously. I think there was some Netflix. There were some people that worked peripherally with different production companies from Austin. I know I met a couple of those camera guys, and then there were a lot of independent cameramen and people buzzing around. But when that production company came in to shoot Jay's Special, that was like a whole separate army of guys with equipment, with monitors, with everything that you need to create a television show. I mean, they had stations and all of that. I mean, that was an impressive amount of gear that they rolled in and rolled out. So that was cool to see. It was impressive how many professional production people were there, and there was an ambient stress level that I had the earpiece in all weekend, and so I could listen for things to do and kind of get caught up on what the current dramas were. And they were really good with the radio discipline. They were just talking to showrunners and security people, Christine and Rebecca. They were constantly working. They were moving comics all over the place, putting out fires, addressing whatever issues needed to happen. And I think everybody that was there saw Christine and Rebecca running around nonstop the whole entire weekend. And I thought we got a lot of steps. I was like, there's no way.
Right, I know, because we got, what was it?
30,000 a day.
A day, yeah. And she got like 45 a day,
yeah,
45,000 a day.
It was a lot, yeah.
Yeah, I thought we got a lot of steps.
I think at the end, doing the math at the end of the weekend, she walked like 72 miles, 75 miles. It was, and I believe it because I never saw her stop.
Oh, I know.
Never saw her stop.
Yeah.
So the actual production people, Rebecca and Christine, really were busting their ass. But the Gas Digital crew.
Alex did a great job too, and she's 4 months pregnant at the time. Like I felt so bad for her because I know how tiring that can be.
Yeah, we went out there to specifically to do that, and you're hanging around.
Right,
it's just all the comedians all there all day
I just wanted to make that festival run as smoothly as possible for everyone behind the scenes and the comedians. And dude, just to be around all these people I've been listening to for years.
It was so.
It was like a family reunion in my own head.
Yeah. And it was weird for me. In the first morning, I think we stayed at the Golden Nugget, which a lot of people did.
Yeah.
And we were wandering around, and it was just weird to run into Matt and Shane.
Yeah.
And then
we ran into Matt and Shane.
And then we sat in the bar, and I was like nervous. You don't know what to do with yourself.
We ran into Henry, as he wanted me to call him.
And Foley, and the bonfire, and Dan was there with Toby.
We ran into Six.
Yeah.
When we went to get Starbucks, like they were all there, and we didn't know where they were all going to be at that hotel, so we got lucky there too.
Well, but I mean.
Oh, and then Josh.
Potter.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I was thinking Adam Myers, but no, Josh Potter. The whole time we
I know.
saw him. I'm not sure he saw us. I mean, for real, it was like, who's that cartoon character that looks through bottle caps? Man, God, he says he's blind, and I believe it.
Yeah.
I think he's blinder than Blind Mike.
Yeah.
For sure.
So when we were sitting at that bar, though, and you kind of said it to me, and I couldn't quite figure out, because I'm good at talking to people normally. I'm normally the guy that talks like a lot, which is in both of our natures, but I was so nervous.
I have never in the 20 years we've been together see you clam up like you have. And I'm like not nervous at all to talk to any of them. Every single comic that I recognized or knew, I walked up to them. I gave them a button that I made, and I gave them a hug, and I, either explained to them that I've been listening to them for like Ari for, 10 years or whatever, or, just a couple of years or whatever. But,
But so in me, like I was walking
Eddie Pepitone.
I was walking comics from the green room, and I found a little hallway back to the Sheath stage. So that was really the only time that I'd have, and then I would hang out back there. But in my mind, I was like, these guys are surrounded by thousands of fans that, aside from them going on stage all weekend, that they were mixing it up with everybody, so they were getting
completely.
so much of that. So I was trying to give them.
Yeah.
I was trying to like act like you've been there,
Right.
and I hadn't, and it was like I love all these guys so much.
And like we thought we might get pictures with a lot of them, but we did not want to be those people at all. Not a single photo. I know. And then like when they'd ask me where the bathroom was, I would be, like, well, you're going to have to walk through the crowd if you don't want to do that right now, but maybe I can get you in a sneaky way, and a lot of times they did want to kind of just sneak off into wherever
especially
they could.
with the bathroom.
Yeah, exactly. Right.
But I guess, kind of going back to the thing where, and sitting in the back with the guys before they were going to go on stage, I'm fly on the wall a little bit, and it felt odd not to be chatty, but they don't want to talk. And then I felt like, am I being, is it weirder for me just to be like sitting here? But I was kind of tired anyways.
I think you were too much in your head. And
I was.
You know what it is? You're constantly listening to something 24 hours a day. You sleep to listening to things. You wake to listening to things.
Yeah.
You do not have an earbud in your ear the entire weekend.
No.
So, wow, that's what it is.
Yeah.
Interesting.
I don't know how to be still in my own head.
No.
Yeah. Well, and in that regard, I just ran around like a
animal. I was in my element because
Yeah.
I'm always quiet in I'm never quiet in my head, but I'm always in my head.
But sitting in that hall, so for people that were at the Sheesh stage, off to the left, if you're looking, what would that be, stage right? That's where the hallway was, where people came in, and so the pictures I did take were of the lineups of the shows that were going on that stage, and then I'd kind of make sure people had what they needed back there. But the things that you do get to hear as a podcast fan and a comedy fan, and being in, like, you know what's going on in everybody's lives, kind of, but then you get to hear the little gossip. And the one that I was so proud of myself for getting to overhear, and I was like overjoyed, and I wanted to say something about it, but I didn't want to be a weirdo, is I heard Dan tell a couple of guys that he was going to propose to Katie. So I knew that a couple weeks before that it came out on the bonfire, and I was so happy to keep that to myself as my own little secret. But
I've got a few secrets too. I obviously won't say anything, but it is nice to have those little secrets. Man, the first day, so Friday, oh God, I met Mary Lynn Ryskub, and she is
so cool,
amazing. I mean, she is so cool that the next time I see her, I just know she'll remember me, and we'll have like real conversations like we did the whole weekend, I think she felt a little bit out of place, she knew a lot of the people there, but it wasn't, her scene, and, she's West Coaster, so, it's probably a little bit of she lives in California.
Yeah.
Yeah. But, I was able to do, we were like personal assistants to a lot of these comics, and we'll go into that later. But like I personally assisted her with some products that she needed, and it was just cool to be her little buddy.
Well, and you and her are probably really similar in age. She's got to be, maybe she's a little older
No,
than
she's
you.
older than me.
Is she?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, she's a mom.
But not, she's not by much. She's beautiful, man. She doesn't look her age at all. And yes, she's a mom.
And she's very, like, so many of the women that were there were, I mean, everybody was so cool, but and I was trying to, you just try to sort of catch the vibe of how people are in terms of,
dude, the women,
the coolest,
and that's the thing, like being a woman, you're really particular with other women. We're talking to Legion of Skanks women. They are all going to relate to what I have to say. We are all a bit of outsiders in our world. We're probably were the drama or the musicians or, the nerds or something. We were the outcasts in high school, in society or whatever. We didn't ever really fit in. And that's what I realized, like, when I was there. And I think that's what a lot of the whole Skankfest family feels like. We all never really fit in. And that's why whenever we go to these festivals, when we leave, we're all really sad because it's like, we all fit in there.
Yeah.
From all different backgrounds, we all just realized we're amongst our people. We're with our tribe, and it's weird to like realize that only once a year you can get that. It's sad,
That's why people end up doing festivals.
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
As like
well,
festival
it's like
gypsies.
Bliss Fest used to be that for us, and now we've got this going on. So now we
as
too.
well. Yeah.
As well.
No, but just going back to the woman thing, like Annie Letterman.
Oh my God.
Who
so
again,
cool.
like you hear Annie on a lot of I will always listen to her.
She is as cool as she sounds on podcasts.
On any show, and I was, again, in my effort to not bother people, I was very.
It's Maisie. She's crying. It's fine.
I was very careful to just, let people pass. So I was talking with her, and I stood with my back against the wall, so I didn't feel like I was cornering her, and I was just talking to her about just festival life and stuff.
You had a conversation.
Yeah,
that's cool.
And her friend that she was with named Christy, and I was like, oh, it's my
really?
wife's. Yeah,
there was another Christy there.
There was. But we were talking just kind of like about how things about the festival and like how they run and how cool it was that all these things were happening, and she has an enthusiastic attitude about it, and I know that she's done stuff out in the desert too with everybody, so like I know she gets what it is, and the fact that she took time to like, she was really just chatting with me, and I was letting
that's so cool.
and not being. It is funny to like be such a fan of everybody and try to tuck that away.
Right.
And,
especially being in the green room or backstage anywhere, you have to put that aside.
Yeah,
you're there.
But
it
does like
professional.
And I've been hearing this from everybody on their podcasts. Like they feel it, they love it, and they get what it is for us. And
they
for
got
them.
it too. I mean, they all felt it, because it's like, I'll be hippy dippy. It's this communal energy of love that we're all there for the same reason.
And the funny thing, like they, as big of a deal as those guys are to us, like they just live in a world where we're the only people that know and love them as intensely as we do.
Which is funny, because I always think that more people, are in our world of this, and then I realize, wow, when we came back and I talked to a bunch of different people, like they don't know a lot of the people we're talking about.
They don't.
But it's such a big deal to us.
Yeah.
Like with Shane, I barely knew Shane, and you were so nervous to talk to him, and I just went right up to Shane and Matt and had like a full-blown conversation, saw them the rest of the night.
It was so dumb. I'm like, what am I, 6 or 7 years older than him?
Yeah. Well, who cares about the age?
I know, but plus he's a gigantic,
he
oaf.
is a beast.
And ironically, I walked him in. I just happened to be at the elevators going up from doing something when he was coming in, and I could, he was kind of looking around, and I'm like, Shane, and I had my shirt on, and I was like, bring you up to to where you're supposed to go, and I had a like awkward elevator ride, and I, like, what are you going to talk to anybody about?
Well, and I could talk to him about anything.
I know. And
you know what? That's when being a girl came into play so smoothly for me.
Yes.
And maybe that's like when I used to be in the bartending industry or waitressing or whatever. It was just so easy to talk to people.
Well, there's a million of me at that place, and there were
true. There were like
100 of you.
Yeah, 10%. Yeah, exactly.
So and again, and I tried to respect that, because I mean, how many bearded 40-year-old dudes are those guys surrounded by 300 days a year? It's got to be.
And how many times did someone come up to them and tell them how much they love them and get a picture?
And like,
I wonder.
As good as that feels, that's a really hard.
It's exhausting.
It's a difficult emotion to control.
Right.
As a fan too, and I do that to musicians that I'm contemporaries with that happen to be at Bliss Fest with Earth Radio.
Right. 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 You've been playing longer than them, and you got all weird. But then again, I mean, come on, that was a music festival, so we were getting weird.
It was, but anyways, it was just such a treat to get to do that, and knowing that as we were there doing what we were doing.
Yeah.
We are going to do that forever.
Well, you know what forever. Forever. And I'm hoping, well.
Nobody's going to watch this.
I'm hoping to be on the payroll next year. One of my favorite times was on Saturday. We went in early. I kind of.
Should I let her down?
No, she'll do her barking set. We're gonna leave our dog upstairs. We went in early, and because we were needed early, there wasn't enough people to work. And I realized the pants I was wearing were too hot, so I went back to the hotel. And then you called me and said, "Bobby and Joe need some cigars," and I'm like, on it. Hunted down some cigars. It was a little hard, but I found them, and I was able to give Bobby and Joe their cigars, and
I set up.
We befriended them the rest of the weekend.
And I set up their smoking area by the shirts, and so when they talked about that,
the little lounge, the merch lounge.
And the reason I put it there is because there was that big Skankfest sign that had been tilted, so there was like a wall.
Right.
So they were outside, but they were obscured.
I think that was a good spot, and close enough to the whole door, the boat.
Yeah, yeah, and it worked fine. And people, I really do feel like everybody.
And that was Sunday too. By that time, or did you set it up earlier than Sunday? You set it up on Saturday.
Yeah, that was set up on Saturday, maybe even Friday.
No, well, I mean maybe, but I got the cigars on Saturday though.
Did you?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then later at one point I got. I think the next day, it must have been Sunday. It's like one big blur.
I know.
So whatever day it was.
I mean, we literally got 6 hours of sleep the whole weekend, or at least me. I could not fall asleep by the end of the night.
Yeah, because we're on a big time change too.
Right, true.
So Joe asked me at one point if I knew where there'd be, and he was the dude is exactly who you think he is.
No, he's cooler. He's cooler than
what
you
I'm
think
saying
he
is in terms of. Does not want to cause a problem. Doesn't act. Doesn't.
True, he's a sweetie.
No attitude of.
Same with Bobby, man.
Yeah,
he's such a sweetie.
These guys asking for stuff was just like, please let me get you something.
I know.
And he's like.
And that's why Bobby was like, we were treated like kings.
Yeah.
Like they never get treated
that way.
I'll play
that in a minute.
Yeah.
So I ran down and grabbed Joe T, and I was like, yes, I get to get Joe T. And then that was right when he was going on.
Yeah, I got Ari some coffee.
At the Yo Kratom stage for that. So I'm like, did he need that for his set?
Right, and that's the thing too. Like, are they expecting it? Then you just don't know.
Yeah, and then later on that day, Bobby was trying to charge he had these like Bluetooth mics for a remote podcast that he was doing, and he needed the charger that I had.
Right. Yeah.
So these are things that I knew. Like I had my little pouch of like shit that I knew people were going to need.
We came prepared, you guys. Like we brought things because we're so familiar with music festivals. And I set up a camp like he described earlier. Not only is it decorated beautifully, but like I literally have everything under the sun that MacGyver would use to do whatever he needed to do on a daily basis.
Mostly gum.
I have everything. So when we went to this festival, we brought what we thought might be needed, various things, like Advil and tape. We couldn't bring scissors. That was a hard thing to find, actually. But I mean, just random things.
You can't buy a knife on Fremont Street. I found out.
Or scissors.
But yeah, and I had all the stuff, but I brought I brought little cords and chargers and things, and they'd popped up. But I got Bobby some of that stuff that he needed, and then and then saw a minute later he was doing a podcast, and I was like, oh, cool. I thought it was just needing to charge something. For whatever, but he was
with that. That's cool. Really, part of the production.
And I'm still looking for that. I was like, what podcast was that? I was trying to remember who he was sitting with because they were doing it right.
Well, he did so many.
Well, but I'm saying they did that one on his gear back by the T-shirts in the smoking area.
Oh, so maybe that was too. Like I'm telling you, I thought Ari talked about doing the You Be Trippin', but maybe he was doing 2 Comics, 2 Cigars too. It might have been that.
It's not up yet.
I mean, Ari needed to, right, exactly, and he needed to keep busy because it was sober October, and he made wrong choice.
And that brings me to that. Yeah, you got him a coffee one day, and then when I was running his story,
I know. And when I got him the coffee, he was up with I think it was Legion of Skanks or something. I think it was the first Legion of Skanks, and I delivered it real quick and I thought to myself, I wonder if he'll even drink it because I might have dosed it, with his history. I mean, of course, I never would have, but
Well, so and then the day that not running, but when I was working the Sheath stage for a storytelling show, and I asked everybody a billion times if they needed anything, and finally Ari was asked for a coffee, and I went down to Denny's and got him a coffee, and I wouldn't do that, but
no, I know, that's exactly what I thought too. I wouldn't do that either.
He also put the caveat, like, if anybody did, I won't.
Right, right. And
I thought,
and that's exactly what I thought to myself too. And I thought, well, I could, but I didn't.
Yeah. So that was, but it was cool to get. It was good to help in any little way that you possibly could.
Yep.
And then, what else was it? Oh, I got on stage at.
Oh yeah, for Lewis's introduction.
Oh no, but I'll tell that one in a second. I forgot about that.
Uh-huh.
No, I had to go get coffees for Jason Ellis, and I went all the way back to our hotel to get iced coffee.
Oh, because he wanted Starbucks.
Yeah, that
specifically, and that's like a quarter of a mile away.
Yeah, that took forever, and then I stopped for stuff for Rebecca on the way back too.
Oh, I know. Every time we left, we would pick up stuff. I mean, we spent so much money on our own dime, but they do pay back, But it was helpful, or did they not? Oh,
we're still 50 in the hole. We'll get it.
Okay, well, whatever.
But yeah, and then like trucking pizzas and like whatever we could do to get stuff in that place that we needed. It was a constant, like, there was constantly stuff that needed to get done, and right when you got done doing it, it started all over again. So yeah, this was Sunday, I think, and I took a picture of that show. I think it was the Wild and Inn set. I'd have to look on my phone. But it was, Lewis was hosting, and it was the first time that he'd been back at Sheath when I was there anyways, on a show. So he was hosting a show, and just as I was getting everything set up, getting ready to start, and Stacy was the showrunner, and there's God Mike behind the stage for whoever's hosting the show, but nobody had really been doing intros all weekend that I heard anyways. And then Lewis is back there, was like, is anybody going to say anything? And I was kind of like, if nobody's going to say anything, I was like, I'll say something.
Yeah.
I was like,
if you guys know anything about Greg.
I was like, you want me to?
He's not shy at all.
Like, you want me to
Unless he's around his favorite comedians.
I was like, you want me to bring you up? He's like, and he, I think he gave me like the 2-second, like, make sure I'm not a crazy person. Yes. But I mean, I'd been around.
He'd seen you, yeah.
So, and I gave him the intro, so it was awesome.
And you had an earbud, If you have an earbud, you're legit.
I had a walkie-talkie and a yellow shirt on. I think I was convincing.
Well, the yellow shirt.
And so yeah, I got to introduce Lewis on the Sheath stage at that show, and it felt really cool to do that. Also, just in general, digesting everything that everybody's putting out since the festival, watching all the live stuff, and feeling like knowing that we were there, but not really there at those shows. Like they were going on all around us.
We didn't see anything.
So
we didn't see anything except I saw one, and I'll go to that later.
So so I was downstairs cleaning and listening to You Know What Dude from Sunday, and it was awesome. It was
That's right.
Nate Bargatze shows up later, but it was Lewis.
I think I was cooking. I did
Joe,
a bunch of cooking.
And Robert Kelly, Mr. Bobby Kelly.
Mr. Kelly is what you call him.
And Dan
Bobby.
And Dan Soder. And so this was at about the 24-minute mark, and I'm downstairs and I hear this.
Comedian writer. Yeah, that's not him.
Yeah. That's not him.
I mean, there's so many inaccuracies. 5'9",
yeah, 30,
writer,
30?
Latinx, 30.
30s, 5'9", yeah, no.
And I know your birthday, April 1st, 1982.
That is true.
That's
Pow,
good
good
memory.
friend.
Wow.
You think you're worth more than me?
Net worth?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
Well, I mean, dude,
This was
Skankfest,
earlier
going
than I
back to that, not to segue back to that.
Yeah. Probably made fucking
sold out.
Okay.
Yeah.
How long did it take to sell out?
2 minutes.
Really?
Yeah.
and
Two
paid
fucking-
very little to the comics.
They
That
paid
helped.
great.
Be great.
Better than any other festival.
paid
What are you,
Literally
crazy?
better than any festival.
You want to know the truth?
And
I don't
they-
even know what I got paid. I don't
Yeah.
even look. I
Here's
go, I'll
the
be
thing.
there.
Number one,
That's how much he's worth.
they paid great. They put you up in a fucking great hotel, and they also got you out there nice. And while you were there, most important thing, you were treated like a fucking king.
Yeah.
I go, dude, I need a chair. I got you, Mr. Kelly. Someone would come back with a yellow shirt.
That was one
okay?
guy, Greg. We got to give a
Whoa,
shout out to Greg and his wife. Was amazing. They're from Michigan.
Unfucking-believable.
Very attractive lady, Christine.
Even
Or
in
Christy.
the green room though, whatever you
Christy,
needed,
Christy,
you
shit.
got. They never fucking made you feel anything. You walked in, out, security, they knew who the fuck you were.
It's because it's put together by a former comic, and any club or festival that's an
Such a ball breaker.
I know. So hearing that,
Yeah, you came running upstairs. You're like, it happened. I'm like, what happened? It happened. And I could just see in your eye that, and obviously with your earbud in your ear, which is always in there at all times, holy crap, someone mentioned our names.
And it's not a, it's a big deal because.
No, it is a big deal because we put so much into that weekend. We put so much. We put our heart and soul.
Yeah.
You know?
And they, you know, they were and that was just over this last weekend. It's been almost a month, and those guys have gone coast to coast meeting 1,000. I mean, how many people do these guys meet like every freaking week?
But the whole festival is different for them, just like it is for us. You know,
true.
like they said, it's like a family reunion, and you know, for us, it's like the same. Like we all listen to you guys. You're our family, whether you know that or not. You know, you have to know that. You have to know that you're in people's ears and dreams on a constant basis.
And that's so weird.
Like I've dreamt about Ari a number of times, and he was the one guy that I probably know more. Yeah. Well, Ari and Joe, maybe. Joe List for sure. Ari and Joe, I know more than any of the people there. And Ari, you know, I saw you catching, you gave me a couple of looks, but he was quieter than I expected.
Well, and I think it really, I think having Sober October, I mean, can you imagine?
I gave that to him in my head. I was like, that's all right, buddy. It's all right.
Well, and so I guess from in whatever order it is, the biggest, and this was like like Friday, seeing the whole Bonfire crew getting ready for their show. DJ Lou, I should have, and I didn't. I was being very conservative about my fandom. But I saw them all together, like Jacob, DJ Lou, Black Lou, DJ Lou's girlfriend was there, Dan and Big J. They were, and I knew better that if they're all in the same place, like they're doing a thing. So you know, for sure, I wasn't gonna insinuate myself, but to see them all together now, and I listen to them every single morning on the drive to.
And I would listen to them as well, but you cannot.
Fucking XM app.
I know.
Sucks.
Yeah, the app sucks.
And then Jacob came in after, and this is the funny thing, like I didn't see that show, and I only heard it like the week later, but Jacob came into the green room when we were hanging out there together, and I grabbed him.
Yeah, I talked to him.
And brought him over to you because I thought like me coming at him is a lot. So I was like, bring him to a woman.
And by that, a woman who's in charge of that room too, you know, and I made sure he knew if he needed anything, ask me. I know how to do it.
I love that dude so much. And
I know
just,
you do.
And that, I mean,
he
is so, I mean, he is such a funny guy.
Yeah.
And
such a genuine guy.
Yes. And that show and just, I mean, the whole vibe, like that's one of the most loving family vibes to see all those guys together that, you know, the thing that they all bring.
Yeah. No, that is a family vibe for sure.
That they know to come, you know, or that they bring that to that festival. All of it is. I mean, it's all just like overwhelmingly hilarious and great to see. And then we were laying in bed the other night and watched the second Kill Tony, when that girl Jonah got up, and that was so
Jonah
funny.
Campos.
Yeah, that was so funny.
Oh, she's a cutie.
And again, all of these things were happening.
Her joke lingered in my head the rest of the day, that next day, to where I was like, I don't want to think of that anymore. It's gross. Right?
Yeah. But all of these things were happening like for like 24 hours a day.
To go back to that, like, so a lot of the people that volunteered flaked out. They came Thursday or whatever, didn't show up Friday, didn't show up for the rest of the weekend. So that made, you know, the hardworking volunteers double it up, or, you know, just be there for their shift and then go to their shows. Doesn't matter whatever you're going to do, at least you're helping out. That's great. But in our nature, we just wanted to help out the whole time. So we, you know, decided we're just going to stick around and help you guys out and miss shows. And honestly, it was great. I had the greatest experience, one of the greatest experiences of my life. So it was fine that I didn't get to see shows. I did get to see Joe List. I got to see him twice, and that's the one dude that I wanted to see the whole weekend. So by Sunday, we had all got it down, at least in the green room. And so I was able to see his, I think it was a 12 o'clock show and maybe a 1 o'clock show or something.
You and I saw some of
That's right. So I saw his first one.
Yeah, you saw him on the Dance
at the
Safe
Dance
stage.
Safe, right? I saw the whole thing.
Yeah.
20 minutes or whatever. And, and it was so cool because he was just working stuff out, some of it, and then other jokes, obviously he really liked, and I really liked the toilet one, the I think it's, what? I can't tell his... You're right. It might not be the toilet one. That's all I'm going to say.
But I watched 15 minutes of Shane's set. That was when I stood in the hallway and watched. I watched some of Jim Norton, who's awesome live. I mean,
oh my God, I loved his character, the nice guy that he put on. Just from listening to all of it afterwards. It was so funny because after this whole weekend, we went back and we watched all the shows and we're like, oh my God, that was what was going on the whole time we were working.
Well, and I saw Jim's set. Like I saw his stand-up, and it's like you take Jim for granted because it's like he's been around and he's put out some specials and he's out and he's got his XM show and there's nothing like a live set. And whether or not you think you like someone or you don't, you are always going to be like, especially at that place. Like the vibe is so good. That stage was great. People were feeling it. He was hilarious. I saw Dave Attell on there.
Yeah. I helped him find a burger joint.
Sam Talent. We should go back to Sam.
Dude, we have to go back to Sam.
He is if you haven't had a chance to really check him out. He's got a podcast. Obviously, he's got an amazing book, which just got optioned.
He's got 2 books, doesn't he?
Just one.
Okay.
That just got optioned into a movie.
Oh, okay. That's what I'm thinking.
Which is awesome. But he is the coolest dude.
The coolest. When we left on Sunday and we went in to say our goodbyes to whoever was around, he remembered my name. I mean, it had nothing to do with the white tape that
we put name tags on.
We fashioned a name tag.
Yeah.
Hey, it's just easier for the people that we're working with to know our name, right?
Yeah, indeed.
That's why we did it.
Should I play the clip again?
Christine, Christy. Yes, Joe, that's my name. But no, he gave me a hug and he's like, this is what made me know that he actually did. Like, we did make a connection because the first day that I met him was Friday and we were just talking and he was all shaven and he looks different in person. So the person that I know him to look like, he had a beard. You only see the upper part of the body. He is a giant.
Yes.
I'm 5'9", and so I'm usually, kind of tall for a woman, but he's like 6'3" or something.
He's a big dude.
Big dude. And, I was like, what's your name? He said, Sam. I was like, what's your last name? And in my head, I knew he was going to say
That's
Talent.
So funny.
And he said Talent. And
nobody looks like him.
I know. And I was like, well, but he had a shaven face.
Yeah.
And so I was like, oh my God, I thought that's what it was. And I gave him a button. So then on Saturday or Sunday when we were leaving, he gave me a hug. And as I was walking away, he was like, Skanky for being a friend. And that was what the button said. I'm like, oh, I made an impression.
Well, and even just walking around the outside, that loop around the outside, I was kind of moseying back from something, and he was walking, and he just stopped to chat.
Exactly.
Like he just
he wants to just hang out. Just that's kind of like how Mary Lynn was. You know, like she just felt more comfortable, like connecting, and talking with you as a human being rather than a fan.
Shoot, the whole here's a scenario, guys. Like Brendan Sagalow and Mike Cannon. And the funny thing is, we had just watched Mike Cannon's stuff.
I know. The 420 thing? Yeah. Oh, my God. That was hilarious.
And you didn't even watch the special. We just watched the 420 thing.
No, the 420 thing was awesome and impressive.
Yeah.
Too.
So he's got another special that he shot that same year. And I really love that dude.
Yeah,
and Brendan.
I do too.
I didn't get to to chat with Mike Feeney
I've
too much.
listened to Here's the Scenario since we came back, and I love Mike Feeney.
Yeah.
He's,
They're
I
all,
love
I mean,
him.
they're all awesome.
He sounds so much like Mulaney. And maybe that's why I love him so much, because Mulaney is really in my top comedians. But
Well, and going-
but he's a smart, witty, charismatic dude.
So it was cool to see those guys. They all hung, at one point down at the end of the hall at the Sheath stage. Again, like, I didn't see one instance of someone being a jerk.
Not
Or
once.
no.
Everyone,
and that's like,
and I saw it all
yeah,
because
and
I was the
you,
green room girl.
and you're a woman.
I know. No, and I was the green room girl, getting them all drunk. Those that wanted to get drunk.
Yeah.
And I would ask, when they'd order a drink, you want it half and half? And I thought to myself, maybe you should just make it
Yeah.
a little weaker. But they were red cups,
I know.
solo cups. That's why I'm hoping next year. My suggestion was make smaller cups.
Yeah. Well, we've got a lot.
I don't
of
feel
plans.
like anyone got too drunk.
No, I didn't see that either.
No.
Nobody was out of line.
Exactly.
And we were there late that night. I mean, we were right at that point where I'm like, we're on the clock.
Yeah.
But for
we
sure,
didn't
it was
close
party
out
time.
Friday. We left at 11 on Friday. We didn't close it out.
Yeah. I think Saturday we left at like
Saturday
1
we
or
left
2,
at, no, we left
2:30?
at 2:30.
Was it? Jeez.
It was 2:30.
Yeah.
And then Sunday we left at 11. No, we left at 8. We came back to say our goodbyes and then left.
Hung out for a little while.
Yeah, we hung out. And we didn't even see shows. What the
Yeah.
hell were we thinking? We
I
were
know.
so beat by that time. We weren't even thinking there's still shows going on. We could be here until 2 again and see shows. We didn't even think
Well,
that.
we had to
'cause
fly
were
out in the morning.
Yeah, but I mean, come on.
Yeah.
That shouldn't have mattered. It didn't even occur to me. I was so tired, and I had a great conversation with Max, the the head of security. He's a sweetie. Love him. He'll be a forever friend. And we saw Max, another volunteer.
Matt.
Matt, I'm sorry. Max was the door guy. Matt actually did door occasionally too.
Yeah.
You put him to work. I
Sorry.
go over. Yeah, I'm having a conversation with Max. I'm saying goodbye to a bunch of people. I go and find Greg out at the merch table.
We opened it back up.
Right. And I go over to Matt. I'm like, I thought you were done working. He's like, yeah, your husband put me back to work.
Well, we were
I'm like,
hanging.
he's not even working right now.
I was there. I was pulling
No,
shirts.
I know. You put yourself back to work. You put Matt back to work. You were both off the clock.
Well, and Lewis's sister was in having dinner.
Yeah.
And there were people waiting, and I'm
yeah.
like,
and then you had the little smoke lounge
yeah,
was
and
next door.
The guys were hanging out there, so it's
Yeah.
like, well, we can just hang and be around.
I know.
you know?
I get it. It was like your tiny green room.
Yeah.
But I got my "I love you, Christy" from Joe, and we get to say goodbye to Bobby and Ari.
I wanted to.
Personally.
I don't feel bad about not getting pictures, but I am super glad.
I don't feel bad either because
No.
I feel like we were really, professional that way.
Yeah, and I
At least wearing yellow shirts.
and everybody, yeah, and everybody took everybody that's posted stuff. It's like you can see how excited everybody was, and the cool thing is to see I don't see anybody with shitty looks on the comic side, for being exhausted of that.
And
That's
they
a lot
had
of work.
To have been. They had to have been, even though that was
Yes.
their, prom or whatever.
Colin Terrell was out from the moment we got there. He was never in the green room. He was always outside with the fans.
Yeah.
He was walking around with people.
No, I never saw him in the green room. At least when I
Joe
was working.
DeRosa was everywhere. Man, he was
I only
so
saw
cool.
Joe on
He was another one. He
Sunday.
sat there. God, I love Joe DeRosa so much.
I know we got to have his
And-
sandwiches in
and
New
I
York.
and I sat across from him and left him alone. I actively left him alone, even though all I wanted to do was talk to him. And he's just such a cool guy.
Man,
I really
Whitney came in for an hour, and I didn't have much of an opinion about her before, but after this weekend, I love her.
well.
I got to talk to her for a bit. She made a couple of jokes. She was cool, and then
She-
I saw her do her thing, at her panel, whatever. I'm sorry, I can't remember what she did, but I was impressed. She was able to hang with those degenerates, and
So she has been like floating around the scene, the Gas Digital scene for a minute, and I remember seeing that she was going to be on Legion of Skanks a while back, and I trust this
That
show.
they know, yeah.
Well, I trust this show, and like, but everybody knows what it is, and for her to go,
Right.
and
Especially being.
and there was this whole thing of like, what, people have opinions about her. She's fucking cool.
She's fucking cool. Everybody is fucking cool.
Yeah.
Like, I'm telling you guys, I worked the green room the whole weekend, and I met everybody that was there that went to the green room, because some of them didn't, There were a few sobers that didn't go to the green room. Eddie Pepitone came for just a minute, and I was able to give him a big hug.
I wish I would have grabbed him before.
I grabbed him as soon as he walked in. I was loading the bucket full of waters or whatever, and looked up, and I dropped what I was doing. All the cans were rolling on the ground because our water was liquid death cans. And I just hugged him. I'm like, Eddie Pepitone, you're here. And he was so happy. And I was, I give him this quote from his special, I'm on Molly. And we laughed about that. And then later on, one of the production guys asked me, how do I know Peppy? How do you know Eddie? I was like, I don't know him.
Yeah.
That's just how I've been saying hi to everybody.
Yeah, right?
That's just me.
To pull off that festival the way that those guys do,
for real.
It's super impressive. And you can tell, and we both, emailed the people that we were dealing with at the end getting back, because it was important for us to let them know, what it meant to us, but to identify that you can really, really tell that what that is entirely based on that family vibe, and you feel
and hard workers.
For sure. But like that and it reminds me of like Soul or being out at Tim's farm, where like you gotta love doing that stuff to make, because whether or not it makes money or it matters to anybody, like it matters to those people the most first, and they and it all comes from the top down. And you really feel it.
Which is why we wrote those letters to them, because we want them to know that we are like-minded people. We feel that running that festival like it did is as important to us as it is to them. Like after watching all the videos of what we missed, I did have FOMO while watching them. But during the festival, I didn't have it at all, because what was more important to me was, like, I just want this to go smoothly for everyone.
Yeah.
I don't want anyone to want for nothing. I wanted Alex, to, like, not be... Dude, she is the most chill girl, and I know she had to have been under so much stress, but you did not see it from her. So that I wanted to take that off of her as much as I could, because I love her so much. She's a really cool chick. So writing that letter, I just wanted them to know we're in it for the long haul, and you can see, how we work. And I hope that you'll ask us to come back, next year.
Well,
maybe even higher responsibilities, because we obviously proved
open
ourselves.
Open up Skanks Midwest
production
we
could
team.
Run that. I mean, we're good at
so
this
so
stuff.
on the way back, and like the spinning wheels of everything, like how do we pivot into doing how do we pivot this into doing this more often? And we do
exactly.
Well, and that's just like the play.
I don't want to move to New York.
No. It's just the playtime in your head.
Yes.
And it's just funny to think of all the things you would do and could do, and just being generally a catalyst for these things. And so what I would say, going back to kind of like what we were thinking about, this being at the beginning of the night, or if you've made it this far, to volunteers, like for sure volunteer, and especially if you've been in this capacity before as a attendee at a festival or a volunteer at a festival and know what it is and what you're supposed to do. We need able-bodied, competent volunteers.
Yeah. Willing to take direction or be the director.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like being on a pirate ship.
Right. We're all just trying to survive.
It's pirate ship mentality.
And you don't have to jump in like we did. That's just our mentality, to like step in. Greg and I both have the kind of, characteristic where we find a problem, we'll fix it.
I think that also there's probably there was probably another dozen of us there.
Oh, there
that were-
definitely was. It wasn't just us.
We created our own bubble.
But we only had our own. You had your sheath stage.
Yeah.
I had my green room.
But I'm saying the jobbers, like we create a bubble around ourselves of like, I know that once I reach an area where like, oh, there's nothing to do here. Well, that's because there was another team of people like us that was figuring out what to do there.
Because Sam was always doing her thing too, you know. And Big T, like when he wasn't in the room for a while, and I relied on him because he was my muscle, man. And he was like a mind reader. He would see what I was doing, and I'd turn around, and he would just take the trash from me or whatever. You know, I was grateful for him. And when he wasn't around, I'd be like, in my head, where is he? And then I'd find out, you know, he was being security in the other room. And like one time I was a couple of times I was walking, you know, from the green room to go get liquor or whatever I needed. And Christine saw me and she's like, can you go to this door and make sure they go out that door and don't, come in this door, come out that door. So I'm like, yep. Even though I needed to, like get back soon, but whatever, I'm going to help out whenever I'm told to help out, and did it. And then as soon as it slowed down and I saw somebody just kind of lumbering around, I was like, hey, yellow shirt, what are you doing?
The other time I said no was on the earpiece when they needed security to go down and like keep people from fighting in the boxing ring that hadn't been taken down on Saturday. And I was like, I'm not doing that.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not a big guy.
Yeah.
And there's like
and the only
weirdos
time
down there fighting in the ring.
Right. And I didn't technically say no, but we needed, Alex had asked for someone to go into the second green room, which was really a small green room. Like, it really only needed one gal to manage it. And so I go down there, and there's the one gal that's been there the whole weekend for the most part. And I was like, do you need anything? She's like, nope, we're good. So I, just told Alex, there doesn't need to be a second one in there. I'm needed in the busier green room, And I love that they trusted us enough, even though they don't know us. They just knew our work that we had been doing all weekend. Even on Friday, like
what's funny? Like, not being a stoner.
Yeah. We didn't even get messed up at all. I expected to party the whole weekend. We didn't party once. I lost weight. I expected to gain weight and party.
We got more.
We saw no shows.
We
didn't get drunk or whatever.
We ate one meal a day.
Exactly.
And we walked 30,000 steps. It was really like being on a hiking trip.
I know. Right? We were on Boss.
Yeah. Yeah, no,
it was like going through labor. Like, you have this whole labor plan, you expect this to happen.
Yes,
it
was.
Nothing happens as planned.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. And that was the cool thing, is like, we didn't know what to expect, so we were, and we did show up with a mutual mindset of like, let's just see.
Yep.
And we kept kind of the first day we knew, we're like, this is even better than we thought it was going to be.
I know. And we were working there for free,
Yeah.
It's like, it's funny to say it's even better than we thought it would be, especially since we didn't get to see a single show. We gave them our work for free the whole weekend.
Yeah.
We paid to be there.
That's why I'm a bad musician. I'm a bad businessman.
You're not making money?
No. I'm going up to Sheboygan tomorrow to play drums.
We're going to make money this next year for Skankfest because we proved ourselves.
Yeah, it'll still cost us to get out there.
Well, it will, but hey, maybe we can balance it out somehow.
Indeed. All right. It's been an hour and 15.
Okay.
That's all anybody's going to want.
Yeah, if anyone's lasted this long.
I doubt it. Okay. Bye.
Bye. Thank you, Skankfest, Lewis, Christine, Big J, Alex, Rebecca. Well, I mean, just the main people. I mean, I really do appreciate the opportunity. It was cool.